my life, and especially in the mornings. And then at the end, I'm going to share with you the magic drink that's completely transformed my mind and really helps with my ADHD. So people with ADHD have less dopamine than everyone else. Therefore, we're trying to constantly chase that dopamine as we go about our day. If we can get that dopamine early in the morning, it's really going to help us be more productive, more focused, more energized, and just be happier overall. But what we don't want to do is to have those peaks and troughs where we're chasing high amounts of dopamine and then we're having that downward spiral after. What we want to do is we want to keep it at a baseline. So have enough dopamine to keep us going throughout the day and to make us feel happy and energized in the morning, but not have it shooting up and then falling down throughout the day. I like to try and get my dopamine first thing in the morning because I don't rely on medication for my ADHD. It's completely unique to everyone and medication might work for you, but I try and manage my ADHD holistically. Therefore, these things that I'm going to be talking about today is really, really important for me to stay at that baseline and for me not to get those downward spirals and just go into that mental health dip. So I've kind of came up with my own way of doing this, and I really just want to share with you some of the things that have helped that may help you as well. So how can you get free dopamine first thing in the morning? I know it's not easy to wake up straight away, and it definitely took me some time to get myself into a routine. I don't always wake up at 5 a.m. I try and get up at 5:30 or 6 a.m. just because I've now trained my body and my brain to be able to do that. But I definitely wasn't like that before, and I used to think I was not a morning person. Once you get into this routine though, it becomes easier, and then you can go to bed earlier in the evening. Like I always go to bed at around 9:30, 10 p.m. and I don't stay up really late at night because I'm so tired and exhausted by that time. Because I've been up early, it really helps me to get into that routine. Once you're in the routine, it's so much easier. It's just like the first few days or the first couple of weeks when you are starting something new is really, really difficult. But I promise you, once you start to train your body that way and you start to be more disciplined with yourself and strict with those routines, it can completely change everything. Now, I wasn't really going to talk about sleep, but just to briefly mention that sleep is so important, especially for people with ADHD brains, because we need that nourishment, we need that rest, and it really can give us that dopamine as well. So sleep is really important for us to get, and that varies for everyone. Like my perfect sleep schedule is around 7.5 hours. I have played with a few different variations of that, but 7.5 hours is my perfect sleep schedule. Therefore, I go to bed at 10 p.m. and then wake up at 5:30 a.m. So there's so many ways that you can get free dopamine, and it's not always the things that you think. So I'm going to go over a few that you can maybe pick from, because I want to tailor this morning routine to you and not have you go through like a huge list of things to do in the morning. It's just going to overwhelm you, going to make you procrastinate and probably do nothing, and just, you get so overwhelmed when there is so many things. So I'm going to give you options, and what I'd say is maybe just pick 2 or 3 of these each morning to do, and then try different ones out and see what works for you, see what feels good for you and what feels more natural to you as a person. So one of the things that have completely changed my mornings and made me feel more productive is by eating less sugar in the morning. So having a high protein diet in the morning is so important. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about gut health later on in the video, but your gut is hugely related and connected to your brain. Therefore, it's so important to nourish your gut and eat more protein than the average person, and make sure that you're having protein first thing in the morning and you're not having sugar and carbs and all of those things that are really going to like spike up that instant energy, but then it's going to make you fall down and crash after. So some examples of a high protein breakfast could be eggs, it could be nuts, it could be avocado, it could be seeds with natural Greek yogurt. Depending on how you eat and your diet preferences, then you can find lots of protein sources that are still nice, that still taste good, but aren't going to give you that big rush in the morning. So another thing that is going to really help get that free dopamine in the morning is getting some kind of movement in. Now, everyone knows we need to exercise, but getting some sort of movement, it doesn't have to be like hour-long gym sessions. It doesn't have to be, running for miles. It could be just something as simple as doing a little bit of dancing, or you're going swimming first thing in the morning, or popping on a YouTube video and just doing like a 10-minute ab workout. Or you could just jump about your house. Like, you could just put on a timer and jump about for 3 to 5 minutes just to get that blood flowing, just to get you moving and get you in that happy mood. It really depends on what you enjoy. Like, if you want to go and do like your full workout first thing in the morning and you have the time available, then definitely do that. I used to love doing my weights in the morning, my full weight routine at the gym, but I've kind of switched up a little bit now, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later on. That really helped get me all the dopamine I needed first thing. I just felt so much happier when I'd been, but also just doing a little dance in the morning, putting on a song that I enjoy and just jumping about when no one else is awake and just being silly also does the same thing. It still gives you that dopamine. It still makes you feel good, and then you can move on to the next thing that you want to do in order to be more productive and focused. Some of the other things that have really worked for me is to just get some natural sunshine, just go outside when the sun rises. Now, I live in Scotland, so we don't always get that much sunshine, but when I can, and obviously we're coming into summer now, it is brighter in the morning. So just going outside, getting a little bit sun. I don't tend to go for big walks in the morning because I like to stay in the house, or I'm doing a workout or whatever it is I'm doing, but I will just like look out the window or open my back door and just look at the sun, just to kind of reset that circadian rhythm and make sure that your body knows that you're awake. And that just adds a little bit extra dopamine into your system. And it's also just quite nice to get that fresh air and be out in nature if you can. And then there's other things you can do, like reflective journaling. I like to write down, things that I'm thinking of, maybe how my week's been, maybe things that I have been thinking of throughout the night, or I was thinking about the day before, or maybe something that I'm working towards that is going to get me fired up, that's going to make me feel excited. Also doing some planning for the day. That's another thing that can kind of help me push that dopamine level up, and because it makes me excited when I'm planning goals and I'm working towards something. Growth is really important to me, and I love what I do, and I love creating videos, I love doing podcasts, I love running my businesses, and doing some planning towards that, or visualizing the goals. Sometimes I'll just sit and visualize things, and that really does help me feel excited as well. I always think of dopamine as what makes you feel excited. What are the things that gets you fired up a little bit? Because those are the things that you really want to be spending your time on in the morning. Another great thing is just to learn something. So that could be reading a book, listening to a podcast, watching a YouTube video, anything that kind of makes you learn something that you're really excited about. Obviously, if you don't enjoy learning, then that might not work for you. But if you are the type of person that is into self-development or learning something about a topic that you really enjoy, that's another thing that you can spend a little bit of time doing in the morning. It's going to make you feel really good because you're doing something for you. Something, if you have kids or you have a busy life or you have a busy work schedule, like that time in the morning is for you, and it just makes you feel so much better that you've done something that you truly enjoy. So how do you know what things are going to work for you? Now, what I say is just try them out. Try a few different things each morning. When you're starting this new morning routine, when you're starting to get up a little bit earlier, then just try out a few things, because if you're trying to do a huge list in the morning, you're really just going to overwhelm yourself and do nothing. Try doing a little bit of exercise, maybe putting something on YouTube in the morning, seeing if you enjoy it, see how you feel after. Then you can do that reflective journaling or writing out and thinking, did this work for me? Did it not work for me? Do I feel really good after it, or was that really boring? Because what works for me isn't going to work for you. And you can watch all of these videos over and over that tell you to do this and that and this, but essentially you might not enjoy that. So being self-aware, really understanding your body, understanding your mind, is really going to help you, decide on what it is that you want to do in the morning. It also depends on how much time you have, because for someone like me who has 3 kids and has to get up and do the school run and the nursery run, I don't have the same amount of time as someone that, maybe doesn't work, or maybe someone that works in a full-time job and have to be there at a specific time of the day. We're all going to have different times, and you might have a young baby and you might not even have that much time in the morning. You might have 30 minutes before they wake up. You might have 15 minutes. Luckily, I managed to get like up to 2 hours in the morning because my household doesn't wake up till 7:30, sometimes 8 o'clock in the morning, which means if I get up at 5:30, I'm lucky enough to have those full 2 hours. And my kids are older now, so none of them are babies anymore, which means that I can have that full 2 hours. But I've not always had that. Like my daughter used to come through in the night all the time. I never used to get a full night's sleep. So sleep is also really important. So it's just determining how much time you can spend. And it doesn't matter if you only have 10 minutes. Like you can do this in 10 minutes as well as a full hour. Another question I get is, what order do I do this in? It does not matter what order you do it in. You can do it any order you like. Like for me, I personally do like to do the working out part first, just because that really gets my blood pumping. It makes me feel good. And yeah, I don't know. I just always feel like when I do the workout first, it means I can kind of slow it down after and do the other exercises that I'm going to share with you. If you don't want to work out first and you want to do that later on in the morning, and that's your last priority, that's totally fine, because all of these things that we've talked about is really going to help with that dopamine drop, and it's really going to help you feel happier regardless of what order it's in. I just want to go a little bit deeper on how long you should spend in the morning, because this is something that people ask. And honestly, like you can do it within like 1 minute of each exercise. So it could be as little as 3 minutes. And they talk about that in the Miracle Morning book. This doesn't have to be something that you spend hours and hours on each morning. Like if you only have 3 minutes and you do like 1 minute of exercise, 1 minute of visualizations, and 1 minute of learning something, that's totally fine, because you're still creating that habit and you're still doing something that gives you that little bit of dopamine, and it'll just boost that happiness hormone first thing in the morning, and then you can build up when you do have more time. I just want to share with you my new 3-3-3 method that I completely created one night when I was in bed, and that's what I've been doing. I'm going to share it with you, and I'm going to share exactly what I do, but just to give you a brief overview of what that is. So basically, I was trying to simplify everything myself. I was thinking, I'm spending 2 hours in the morning going to the gym. By the time I get there, do my workout and coming home, and I feel like all of my productive work happens in the morning. Like that's when I have all my best ideas. That's when I'm most creative. That's when I just feel like I'm in the zone. And I felt like I was wasting time by not doing that in the morning, because it would come to the afternoon, I'd have a whole day of work and I'd completely procrastinate because I had far too much time in the day. And then I was like, what do I start with? Like, how do I structure this day out? And I just ended up doing less. So what I've been doing is the 3-3-3 method, which just means 3 minutes of each thing that I've talked about. I'm going to share my 3, but 3 minutes of those dopamine inducing exercises in the morning. And it just means I'm only spending 9 minutes in the morning doing this, and then the rest of the time I am able to do the work that I love, plan my YouTube videos, plan my podcast, and maybe work on the course that I'm creating, just doing the things that I'm really passionate about, that I really love, that I feel like I struggle to get done throughout the day because I have all these other things going on as well. So basically just means pick 3 things and then do it for 3 minutes. I have a little timer that I use, which I got at one of the networking events I was at, and it literally is 3 minutes on the timer. So I just pop that timer on and I'll start doing the 3 things that I have been doing. So the first thing that I've started doing in the morning is the first 3 minutes I spend dancing. Now, this is just putting any song on YouTube. Sometimes it maybe will be a dance routine, but sometimes it may be just a song that I really love moving to. And I'll literally just throw myself around the living room, like dancing like crazy. Maybe like doing a little bit of contemporary dancing because I love doing that, and just moving my body to the sound of the music. And this is something that I probably wouldn't do in front of anyone. It feels like you're on your own because it's so early and everyone's still asleep and no one's really watching. So I just kind of get into the groove of whatever the song is and just move my body for 3 minutes until the timer stops. And then the next thing I do is 3 minutes of reflective journaling. So I'll sit on the floor for this. I don't know why, but I like sitting on the floor with my pad on the couch. It's just like, I don't know, a comforting spot for me to sit there. And that's another really important thing, is think about your environment and where you're sitting and how you're doing things. It doesn't always have to be sitting at a desk. So I just sit on the floor with my pen and paper, put the timer on again, and I'll just start writing about like any ideas that pop into my head or things that I've been thinking about in the week and how I think things are going. It could even be something to do with the kids or my family. It doesn't always have to be work related. It's just really whatever comes into my head and what I want to get on paper within those 3 minutes. Often I do go over the 3 minutes, but I don't have to stick to that schedule. But I just kind of like tell myself, you know, it is 3 minutes, and then I look at the timer and it's probably been stopped for ages. And then the last thing I do is 3 minutes of visualization. Now, I struggle with meditations, and I really struggle with anything that has your eyes closed. So what I do is I pop on some wave sounds or some beachy background on YouTube. I use YouTube for everything, by the way. I just love YouTube because you can just do so much on that platform. So I just pop on the telly on YouTube. I will just sit there and zone into the waves. I won't actually close my eyes. I'll just kind of like daydream. I am a big daydreamer anyway, and I kind of daydream a lot. When I'm sitting thinking about having to think about visualization, I end up not doing it. So what I do is I just look at the waves, listen to the waves, and then just let myself daydream into space. And then most of the time, like things pop up in my head, or I end up going into a zone of thinking things. And then what I'll do is I'll just have a little pen and paper and I'll just write down the things that have popped into my head. And yeah, usually it's something that I'm thinking about or an idea, and I'll just write it down on paper so I don't forget. So this is a pretty new routine for me. I used to go to the gym in the morning, and then when I'd come home, I would maybe sit down and plan my day. But I like to change it up now and again, and sometimes different seasons of my life like are different, and it depends on what I'm doing and what part of the year it is. So for now, I really want to focus on certain pieces of work that I'm doing. So I need that time in the morning, and I feel like it's working really well for me. So there is one thing that I wanted to share with you, which is the drink that I always have every single morning. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, or if you follow me over on Instagram, you will know what this is, because I just absolutely love this drink. I think everyone with ADHD should drink this because it has so many properties in it. It has L-theanine, which really calms your mind, so good for anxiety. It has focus, productivity, all of these things. When you drink this drink, you get all of this goodness. It has antioxidants, amino acids, so many benefits that I feel like everyone should be drinking this. And I don't like coffee in the morning. I actually can't really take caffeine, so this has helped me massively over the years. I absolutely love to have, and it's a kind of a little reward for me after I've done all of this, is my matcha. I love matcha lattes. I have it warm just because I love a warm drink. It's really cozy, and it's just one of those like really comforting drinks for me. Sometimes I'll just have it on its own. Sometimes I'll have a little bit of cinnamon with it. Sometimes I'll have a little bit of honey or maple, but I tend to just have it with soya milk because soya milk's more high in protein, and it just works better with my stomach and my gut, and I don't have dairy, so it works better for me. So if you haven't tried matcha yet, then you have to try matcha. You can have it hot, you can have it iced, you can have it with so many different things in cookies, you can make spritzers with it, and I actually own a matcha bar. I opened a matcha bar because I love it so much, and the benefits are just incredible. It's helped me so much with my ADHD brain, and I just cannot stop raving about it. So I did talk a lot about the gut health and how important that is for an ADHD brain. I cannot stress enough how much when I changed my gut health and when I improved all of the symptoms that I was experiencing, it completely transformed how my brain functioned, and it helped all my executive functioning. Paralysis that I had before, it was really not great, and I'm just a huge advocate for optimizing for a good gut health. So I do have a free guide if you want to download it. I've created a free guide just on like things that will really help with starting out on your gut health journey, and it's just ADHD friendly. It's nothing too complicated. It's just a few things, I have a few ideas of different proteins that you can eat and things that you can drink that can really help throughout the day with that functioning that you may be deficient in. If you have any more questions about gut health, about ADHD, about morning routines, then feel free to ask in the comments. Let me know what your favourite thing to do in the morning is, if you are a morning person, or if you've read the book, The Miracle Morning. I will actually link that in the description as well, just in case you wanted to buy it, if you want to purchase it. It's honestly one of my favourite books ever. I hope you all have a lovely week, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye!